I usually produce remixes on my channel, but today I wanted to delve into some true crime cases and understand the psychology behind why someone would want to murder their parents. This video has mentions of murder, drugs, medical abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, guns, and addiction. Viewer discretion is advised. On January 24, 2019, Grant Amato shot and killed his parents, Margaret and Chad Amato, and his brother, Cody Amato. Before the murders, Grant was dealing with some severe issues. He followed after Cody in becoming a nurse, but Grant had dropped out of college prematurely. He was still able to find work as a nurse up until he was caught drugging his patients with propofol.
Well, I was accused of grand theft of the third degree back in June of 2018. That went on for 6 months, and during that time I obviously wasn't allowed to work because of it.
He was able to convince his parents to give him money to become a Twitch streamer. However, he quickly started using that money to pay for a cam girl. It gets to a point where he's stealing credit cards from his family to talk to this girl he believes he's dating. He spent up to $200,000 in only a few months on a girl on the internet in an attempt to help their son. His parents sent him to rehab for his porn addiction. After a few weeks, he returned from rehab early and was given an ultimatum. He needs to get a job, and he can't talk to the cam girl anymore. Grant was able to convince his mother to chat with the cam girl anyways. His father finds out and promptly gives him the boot. Kicked out of the house and made to live with his aunt, he then starts stealing money from the aunt. So the aunt sends him back to his immediate family, and he's given strict rules to follow when he's back. With all of this conflict happening between him and his family, he snaps. He shoots his mother and waits for his father to come home. He kills him too. Grant takes his father's phone and lures Cody into the home and shoots him too. He then tried to make it look like a murder-suicide, with Cody being the perpetrator. Grant was unsuccessful in convincing the police of his story, and he was arrested and tried with 3 counts of first-degree murder. There are certain things we notice about Grant as we think about his background and his actions leading up to the murder of 3 of his family members. He's secretive, immature, obsessive, delusional, and a liar. The final push towards the murders was his father contacting the cam girl and telling her the truth about Grant and his lies about being rich. His parents and brother did nothing but try to help Grant every step of the way. They were extremely permissive and accommodating. Still, his obsession with the cam girl took over his life, but I definitely wouldn't place any blame on her or his obsessiveness. He was failing to go anywhere in life before he ever met her. I want you to keep certain details of his case in mind as we move forward. A picture of his warped perception will become more understandable as we go on. On November 8, 2010, Jennifer Pan arranged for a murder for hire to kill both of her parents, Bit and Han Pan. Way before the murders, Jennifer was finding herself in the habit of lying to her parents regarding her grades. She actually went as far as to forge report cards to keep up with her parents' expectations of straight A's. Her life was closely procured by her parents. Her dad had the greater influence of this. She wasn't even allowed to date in school because her parents viewed that as a distraction that may lead her astray. Even Jennifer's friends had observed how strict her life was. In 12th grade, she failed a calculus class needed to graduate high school. So instead of confronting the truth of the situation, she had lied to everyone around her and went as far as purchasing textbooks relating to pharmacology to deceive her parents into thinking she was actually in college. She asked for permission to stay near campus with her friend, which was actually her boyfriend. She lied to her parents about volunteering at a hospital, and upon her mother discovering it was a lie because she was following her daughter, the father was threatening to kick Jennifer out of the house. Her mother convinced him otherwise. She admitted to half of her lies, including the one about her friend, but she still kept them under the impression she graduated high school. Her parents quickly forbid her from contacting her boyfriend anymore, then made her quit a job she had at a restaurant, and even began tracking her car's mileage to further monitor her behavior. After all of this, she still tried to have a relationship with her boyfriend, and that led to her father making the ultimatum to either truly go to college or get kicked out of the house. Jennifer's boyfriend wasn't feeling too great about the messiness of her life, so he broke up with her and moved on to someone else. After she found out about the relationship, she spun a story about someone impersonating a policeman coming in with others and sexually assaulting her. The story continues with her apparently being sent a bullet in her mailbox because this is all his new girlfriend's doing. Clearly, she's losing her shit because the web of lies she's created is going up in flames. Sometime later, she reconnects with an old friend of hers and he admits to her that he's thought of killing his own father. She sees this as a way to escape the grasp of her tiger father, so her old friend connects her with someone else and they devise a plan to kill her father. She gives the hitman $1,500 to go through with it, but she ultimately gets scammed out of her money. Around this time though, she reconnects with her ex-boyfriend and they too devise a plan to kill her parents. Jennifer states she would also get an inheritance of $500,000 from them. So her ideas of finally being with this guy and also getting rid of the people who have controlled her whole life and getting $500,000 were coming into picture. The boyfriend connects her with the hitman and they pay him $10,000 for the hit. Jennifer also had a burner phone used to communicate about the upcoming crime. So, on the night of the murder, she unlocks the front door discreetly and signals to her accomplices through the light of her study to initiate the plan. They come in and shoot her parents. Afterwards, she calls the police to tell them about what happened. Her hands were seemingly bound because the intruders came in and tied her up. She's taken into the police station to give her witness account, but a factor she didn't consider is her father surviving the attack. After he comes back from an induced coma, he shares that she was speaking with the intruders, and this is the smoking gun that puts Jennifer in prison, and she and her accomplices are sentenced to 25 years to life. So we can already see some similarities between her and Grant. Secretive, obsessive, immature, delusional liars. What pushed her to murder is her being unable to be with her boyfriend without the threat of being kicked out of the house. Her parents were definitely controlling. That's not a gap in perception on Jennifer's end. However, she was a fully grown adult when she did what she did. Why not just leave? She had the means to, but she felt trapped. Keep her in mind as we move forward. On July 7th, 2021, Chandler Halderson reports to the police that his father, Bart and Krista Halderson, have disappeared, and the last time that he saw them, they were going to a cabin with another couple to spend the weekend celebrating the 4th of July. He's brought in for questioning, and his story begins to change as more pressure is applied to him. On July 8th, his father's torso was found, and on the 14th, his mom's legs were discovered. Before his arrest, his girlfriend's parents had mentioned he went into the woods behind their backyard for a while and came back and swam in their pool briefly before leaving. His girlfriend had also noticed that he lied about his location because she was checking his snap map. That snap map showed where he disposed of some of the dismembered body parts of his parents after he shot and killed them both. He made an attempt to cremate them in the fireplace of their home, but he was unsuccessful, decided to spread their remains in the southern part of Wisconsin. His life before the killings was built on lies and manipulation. Chandler had made claims of working as a swim instructor at YMCA, attending college, working at an insurance company, getting the opportunity to work at SpaceX in Florida, and being unable to go because he fell down the stairs and had a spinal injury that led him to wearing a neck brace, even though the hospital he went to said he might just have a minor concussion, but they were just going off of his alleged symptoms. He was actively lying to his parents and his girlfriend to the point where he fabricated emails and transcripts to continue to fool them. His father grew suspicious and called the college to ask for transcripts. He was told that they couldn't find Chandler's name anywhere, or the fake college advisor Chandler had made up to email his father with. His dad texted him after the phone call with the college and let him know he knew Chandler was lying. After he got home, Chandler shot his dad. When his mother came home, he killed her too. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He sounds similar to both Jennifer Pan and Grant Amato. His lies and his deadly reaction to being found out about those lies were what caused him to kill his parents. His parents were more supportive than controlling. He even had a kind girlfriend by his side, unlike Jennifer or Grant. He wasn't lonely, yet he still fell in line with what the other two parent killers did. There's a lot of differences between these cases, but also a common string, pulling it all together into a bigger picture. On August 20th, 1989, Joseph Menendez, who goes by his middle name, Lyle, and Eric Menendez shot and killed their parents, Jose and Mary Menendez. They portrayed it as a mob hit to the police, saying that their father had many enemies, though suspicion of them grew when they went on a spending spree following the murders and hiring a computer expert to remove their father's updated version of the will. Eventually, they confessed to their psychologist about what they did because they felt so controlled by their father and his high demands for performance throughout their life. There's a lot of context for how their father had treated them in the early years of their lives, and they made accusations of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse against him.
And between the ages of 6 and 8, did your father have sexual contact with you?
Yes.
People at the time thought that they were lying and their only motive for killing their parents was money. However, it would be revealed later on by their cousin that he had a letter from 8 months prior to the murders about one of the boys confessing to being sexually abused by his father. This came up again because a member of a boy band their father was a music executive for had made accusations against him for the same thing. Obviously, I'm not going to go into detail about those things because their accounts of abuse are pretty horrific, and this video isn't about that. This crime was committed back when they were around 18 to 20 years old. So yes, they were adults, but that kind of abuse would be fresh enough to still control their own perception of who has power. Right before the murders though, in 1988, they stole $100,000 worth of cash and jewelry. This behavior had forced the family to move elsewhere, Beverly Hills. These two were pretty troubled despite seeming to shine in tennis. Eric had decent enough grades, but Lyle was failing academically in Princeton, and it got to the point where he was suspended for plagiarizing. What we need to remember though is that their father expected nothing but the best, so anything that fell short of that, especially Lyle doing bad at Princeton, was unacceptable in his eyes. The brothers confided in each other about the abuse they suffered at their father's hand and felt fearful of their lives after Lyle confronted his father about what he was doing to Eric. Afraid their father would act first in trying to kill them both, they instead killed him and they also killed their mother. The stated reason for why is because one of them found a suicide note their mom had wrote up due to her being unable to stand their father anymore and his cheating. The whole family is a mess because of the dad. The stress of thinking you'll either get sexually assaulted or killed drove the brothers to beat their dad to the punch. They both got life in prison without the possibility of parole. However, they both appealed and eventually, after a lot of years of trying, they now have 50 years to life, which enables them to be granted parole given they aren't denied. So far, they have been denied, but they will be eligible to try again in 2028. This case in particular has been a source of controversy due to everyone at first thinking that they were lying about the abuse, but as the years have gone on, public opinion has changed. Thankfully, with the rise of talking about mental health and just generally not glossing over the fact that their dad had naked pictures of one of his sons when they were 6, people now see that they were truly victims, and there's people who want to see the release. I mean, honestly, if Gypsy Rose could get released, these two should have gotten released before her. The Menendez brothers have the most extreme case here in this video, and that's not by accident. They have the clearest case of abuse amongst the rest, and their actions came from fear based on their past experiences. Yes, the murders were premeditated, but they were also victims who had their brains destroyed by years of abuse, living with their psycho-ass father and their woefully ignorant mother. These two weren't born to murder. In extreme circumstances, they were driven to do extreme things. Does that mean they legally should have been able to kill their parents? No. But if you were to look into what they were saying about their father and what the other victims have said, I mean, the dude deserved to die. Killing isn't the answer, but you can't put your own kids through that kind of stuff and not expect something crazy to come from it. With every case we've examined throughout this video, the theme of each one is clear: control. Each case was ultimately a fight for control, for power over their own lives. Yes, they were all adults, they had the choice to leave, but didn't, which is correct. But think about this though. Your parents have total control over your life up until you're 18 or you get emancipated. They set the rules, the boundaries, the way you should or should not act, the environment that heavily influences you and your choices. There were parents here who weren't crazy assholes though. Some of them were quite permissive. All of these people who killed their parents have failed in life to become an individual capable of creating their own lives. Your parents have curated your world from the moment you're born. How they feel about you can significantly change how you act. This is a natural thing. You're born to love your parents, so anything that takes you away from that biological inclination has to be significant. However, killing your parents and loving them can actually be two things that are true at once. In Grant's case, we see footage of him crying when the crime scene photos are shown of his brother Cody. The split between what he did and why he did it causes this friction we see in him. He's torn between these two realities, unable to choose or to come to terms with it. This isn't sympathy for the killer. This is about understanding what is going through his mind. Too often we hear, "We'll never know what they're thinking," but the nuance of him doing something so horrific and monstrous compared to the seemingly sorrowful man before us is exactly why we should be more willing to know how someone can get to this point for the sake of preventing more unnecessary tragedies. Love alone can't prevent something awful from happening. Being too permissive will lead your child to never develop into their own person properly, and being too controlling will lead your child to the same thing. Openly defying the very people who gave you life is scary, but it's a necessity. That usually occurs in the teenage stage of life. The mounting pressure of not being what your parents wanted or expected leads people to do a lot of crazy shit. I don't blame the parents for their own murders. These cases are a mismatch of perception and reality. They all could have just left. The only reason why they didn't is because they felt they had something to live up to in their parents' eyes. I have only shown 4 cases in this video, but now that you see the similarities in how this crime occurs, you'll be seeing the distorted perception in more of these cases. It's all about a struggle for power, more specifically, control over their own lives. How could someone really stop this from happening? Take the parents off of the pedestal. When you perceive someone to have more power than you, imagined or not, you treat them worse than if you thought the both of you were on equal footing. To the killers, it's like punching up, if you will. Except this kind of perceived power imbalance could realistically happen to anyone. It just so happens to show up in parent-child relationships the most.
Editor's note. In my search to find an article to back up what I was saying, I found it really interesting that the majority of them I found were talking almost from the perspective of someone who has more power and what their perception is of those with less power, rather than the perception of someone with less power and how they feel towards those with more power. The focus on the privileged ironically takes away from the focus on those with less privilege, thus creating a blind spot in understanding how these two groups can interact with each other and creating a society with less power imbalances. The patient care article from PubMed is a good example of the point I was trying to make. The patient wasn't even necessarily trying to treat anyone worse. It happened more so naturally because of how they were being treated.
I don't say any of this to excuse what happened in these cases. I say this because understanding why this kind of thing happens, other than, oh, it was for money, blah, 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 can help us navigate the world with more knowledge of what could be running through someone's head and why they treat others or themselves a certain way. The perceived helplessness by these killers leads to them taking extreme actions because they feel that's the only kind of action that can emotionally equal the stress and pressure they have been feeling. The more you bottle up your emotions, the bigger the explosion will be. Grant Amato is the most pathetic out of everyone else here, but people as they grow up strive for more independence and agency. The fact that he didn't indicates that he was likely coddled quite a bit when he was younger, making him think that acting like a man baby was acceptable and to be expected. People kill their parents typically because they have a lack of emotional regulation skills, which leads to a buildup of lies and emotions that they feel will end catastrophically, black and white thinking, leading to them avoiding being held accountable for the emotions they cause in their parents. To these people, it feels like life or death. They have chosen death, but not their own, their parents. I suppose a more interesting question to ask is why didn't they commit suicide instead? It's life or death, isn't it? I think there's also an element of vengeance in why they chose to kill instead of killing themselves. They felt entitled to living, and their brains justified the extreme act by using fear and a false sense of imprisonment. It's a cocktail of things that led to this happening. So don't look to one trait. Look for multiple traits and behaviors when examining people and how they could justify to themselves taking permanent action against others. When it comes to wondering why people do things, look to those who had the same thought and chose not to commit to it. They have the answers to how we can prevent more tragedies. Yes, this is a true crime video, but I believe prevention will always be better than punishment. Have a nice day, everyone. Goodbye. Hello. I know this video is pretty unexpected because I've only posted remixes produced by me on this channel, but I wanted to branch out into other things that interest me as well, true crime being one of them, and more specifically why certain crimes are committed and what the psychology behind it is. Too often, people see symptoms of a problem without addressing the root of it, the true cause. The true cause is always a lot deeper and more interesting to uncover. I have some more video ideas I would like to act on, but I'll also continue to make music as well. That will never change, so don't worry. I just wanted to start mixing in other kinds of content on this channel. So if you have any other ideas or true crime related questions you've wondered about but never really got the answer to, let me know. I'm not short on ideas, but I'd happily welcome new ones. So I hope you enjoyed the video and the remixes so far. I'll see you all in another remix. Bye.